Hello everyone, this is Garbu. A few years ago, Ben Shapiro, a conservative political commentator, uploaded a video called Ben Shapiro Rips Pro-Choice Student at Berkeley. This was among many other videos with similar titles, including Ben Shapiro Destroys the Abortion Argument and Ben Shapiro Destroys Transgenderism and Pro-Abortion Arguments. These videos all gained a lot of attraction, and some of them garnered over 1 million views. Many people claim to have changed their minds as a result of these videos, and I take issue with a lot of the claims Ben makes, so I've decided to comment on them and present my view. Now, I would like to make a single disclaimer. Both PhilosophyTube and Vosh, much larger channels, have made videos about the morality of abortion before me, and they both made arguments on the basis of bodily autonomy. In this video, I'll be making an argument from a much different standpoint, but I'll leave a link to their videos in the pinned comment. With that out of the way, let's get started.
So my question was about abortion, and I just wanted to know, why exactly do you think a first trimester fetus has moral value?
Okay, so a first trimester fetus has moral value because whether you consider it a potential human life or a full-on human life, it has more value than just a cluster of cells. If left to its natural processes, it will grow into a baby. So the real question is, where do you draw the line? So you're going to draw the line at the heartbeat, because it's very hard to draw the line at the heartbeat. There are people who are adults who are alive because of a pacemaker. They need some sort of outside force generating their heartbeat. Okay, are you going to do it based on brain function? Okay, well, what about people who are in a coma? Should we just kill them? Right? The problem is, anytime you draw any line other than the inception of the child, you end up drawing a false line that can also be applied to people who are adults. So either human life has intrinsic value or it doesn't. I think we both agree that adult human life has intrinsic value. Can we start from that premise?
I believe that sentience is what gives something moral value, not necessarily being a human alone.
Okay,
because,
when you're asleep, can I stab you?
I'm still considered sentient when I'm asleep.
Okay, if you are in a coma from which you may awake, can I stab you?
Well then, no. I guess not. I mean,
I'm glad you answered that, because I have no interest in actually murdering you.
But that's still potential sentience, and it's still a potential.
I agree. It is potential sentience. You know what else is potential sentience? Being a fetus.
The issue with that.
Now that you've heard Ben's argument, let's break it down. He starts by asking the question, where do you draw the line? Meaning, at what point does it become no longer morally justifiable for a woman to have an abortion? His belief is that it is never justifiable for a woman to have an abortion, unless in specific cases of the potential mother's life being in danger, and for his reasoning, he makes the analogy of a brain-dead man who will wake up soon if unprovoked. Ben argues that killing this brain-dead man, even if we know he was going to wake up, is the same as killing a fetus. He believes this because even though a fetus may not have a consciousness at the moment, the fact that it will have a consciousness in the future is enough to deem it immoral, similar to the man in a coma. But his analogy is highly flawed. In the case of the comatose man, he had already been conscious before entering his coma, whereas in the case of the fetus, it has never been conscious. A better analogy to fit the situation would be this. Let's say there is a couple fighting over whether or not they should have a baby. One partner, let's call him Chad, insists that they should have a baby, but the other partner, let's call her Stacy, refuses, and because of it, they end up not having intercourse and therefore not having the baby. By Ben's own logic, what Stacy has done is the equivalent of killing a baby. By making the choice not to have a baby, although she never actually killed a conscious being, she prevented one from entering this world. By aborting a fetus, you aren't actually killing a conscious being, you are just preventing one from existing in the first place, which is comparable to a couple deciding whether or not to have a baby. It is not comparable to a man in a coma, as Ben suggests. So now that we have successfully debunked Mr. Shapiro's logic, let's answer an important question. When does consciousness begin for a fetus? According to an article from the Irish Times, which cites a reputable study, we cannot say for sure when consciousness first emerges, but it cannot be rationally called before the end of the second trimester at 24 weeks of pregnancy. Among many other studies, around the final trimester is the overwhelming scientific consensus. And it's important to note that less than 1.3% of abortions happen after this point, according to the CDC. So what should we do to reduce this minority of abortions? Well, according to an article from Progress, Ohio, with data from the Associated Press and policy information from the Guttmacher Institute, programs like sex education, education on teen pregnancy, and low-cost or free access to contraceptives, tools for pregnancy prevention, are all ways to decrease abortions. However, making abortions illegal does not actually decrease them. In fact, countries with strict abortion laws have some of the highest abortion rates. There is a 3.7 abortion rate in countries that ban abortions, and in contrast, there is only a 3.4% abortion rate in countries where abortions are legal. So, if you want to decrease late-term abortions where the fetus has gained consciousness, the best way to do that isn't to make those abortions illegal, but is instead to implement policies like teen education and access to contraceptives, policies which many anti-choice people, such as Ben Shapiro, do not support. This was Garbu, and I'll see you in the next video.